Good evening and welcome to the Oliveboard platform. My name is Marut Sir, your logical reasoning expert, and we are here today to start this new session, new series on critical reasoning today, right? And Tier 2, the dates have been announced already and you don't have a lot of time on your hand. So the idea is to touch base. Of course, you'll keep practicing. And there are all the other topics of analytical reasoning, topics like blood relations, directions, syllogism, coding, decoding. So these are more or less going to be similar, somewhat at the same stage like Tier 1 only. So your main focus, what you can do for these topics is you can expose yourself to various examinations. That means you can pick up question types, different question types from different exams. Every question has its own type. So one or two types from here and there, so you have a good exposure of parallel exams so that you know if at all a variation comes up your way, you are ready for it. But what are the main topics which can actually make the reasoning section quite difficult to handle? Critical reasoning, data sufficiency. Two of the most important topics which are also known as gatekeepers of CGL Tier 2 in terms of reasoning. Alright, so you have to be very aware of these two topics. You have to have good practice over this because these topics are make or break. There is no short trick to them. You will have to have a good set of critical thinking skills to be able to solve these questions clearly. Okay. So we'll start it today. 3 sessions we'll dedicate to critical reasoning. Okay. We'll also cover some new topics apart from these: input, output, and social ethical dilemma. Topics like these which are expected to be asked this year in CGL Tier 2 to make it slightly more different, fresh, and difficult. Right? Difficult is not the right word though, but anyways. So let's start with Today we'll cover some questions from statement assumption, statement course of action, and statement conclusion. Okay. And then we'll continue from wherever we'll stop today tomorrow. Okay. So this is your first question. You can answer it right away. Answers in the chat box, everybody. See, I am very good, excellent. So I am looking for participation from everybody, those who are watching the session at any of the platforms right now, either it's YouTube or it's the app. Please participate in this session, right? I am staying outside the screen when you're trying to solve the question so that it is clearly visible. The idea is that, all right? Yes, good. So let's start the discussion. The very first question says, the statement is, it is good to send a child to school at the age of 3 years. All right. Now, whenever I talk about an assumption, what are assumptions? Firstly, let me just brief you on that. For each topic, for each header, assumptions, arguments, conclusions, inferences, course of action. These come under the category of statements. And for no statements, we have cause and effect, assertion, reason, decision making. Okay. Apart from this, we have social and ethical, social emotional intelligence and ethical dilemma, which are extensions of critical reasoning. So everything we'll be covering in the next few sessions, right? Now, what do we do when we come across assumptions? When we come across assumptions, number one, in a statement-based question, whatever is written after the statement is always assumed to be true. It's always 100% correct. There are no questions whatsoever, right? Now, whenever I'm talking about assumptions, or not only assumptions, anything, I'm talking from the point of view or the perspective of the author who might have written this statement. And when I specifically say assumptions, I'm talking about something which the author felt that this is so basic thing that I don't need to write this down. My reader will understand right away. So it's a very basic assumption, or rather I would say it's a very basic, obvious thing which the author takes for granted. He does not mention it here and he thinks that the reader will understand automatically. So remember, assumptions are 99% never mentioned in your statement. They are implicit always. If something is being mentioned in the statement, it might not be your correct assumption. And number two, assumptions are always very basic and obvious things. They are never very specific things. If they are specific things, mostly those assumptions are incorrect. Also, what you can do is when you're thinking about an assumption, think about pre-version of the statement. Now, these days you watch a lot of movies. So we have sequels and we have prequels, right? So think of assumption as a prequel of this film, of the statement. And if it is fitting the bill somehow, then you might safely think that the author probably assumed this while writing the statement. Now read again. So it is good to send a child to school at the age of 3 years. That's what the author has written. That's all. At the age of 3 years, the child is not ready to learn. Of course, this is contradicting your statement. This is against your statement. So this assumption can never be right. And doing so will improve the child's studies. A lot of people feel that this might be right, But this is a very specific assumption. It's a very specific assumption. The author has not assumed anything like that. Of course, he will never write it, but even if you see that it is not implicit anywhere, that it is good because it is improving studies, not improving studies, okay. So this is also incorrect. My answer is going to be neither 1 nor 2 is. Okay, next. India imports uranium from Canada and Russia. Okay, there are no uranium reserves in India. The author is thinking there are no uranium reserves in India. That is why India is importing uranium from Canada and Russia. So that is where this becomes challenging. This is a very specific assumption. It's not a very basic or very obvious thing. Maybe we have uranium reserves. The author is not hinting towards any such thing. Maybe we have, let's say we need 100, but we have only, let's say 45 or 50. So we need to import some more. Okay. And again, the uranium reserves in India have decreased. Again, this cannot be made as an assumption from the author's perspective before writing this. Okay. So ideally, both of them are incorrect. Both of them are incorrect. Option is the correct answer. Okay. India imports uranium from Canada and Russia. That's all the author is saying. See, you can never breach the third important rule. That rule is you cannot go outside the scope of your statement. You have to stay restricted in what the statement is saying. Now here what happens is you are actually breaching the scope of the statement. How? You are thinking that, okay, India probably does not have any uranium reserves, hence we are importing. This is not the author assuming, this is you assuming. You are assuming it right now, and we are not interested in your opinion and your assumption. It only purely has to be author's assumption. How will I recognize author's assumption? It always will be very basic. It will not be extreme assumptions where you need facts and figures, and it will be almost hinted at. That is why we use the word implicit for assumption. Okay, so this is the correct answer. None of them can be assumed. Next one. It's actually a very good question. Good job, guys. Now, a leading school in Mumbai has increased its fees by 150% from the next academic. Problem is we associate tonality. Get a tone to this. How? Some people can read it in this tone. A leading school in Mumbai has increased its fees by 150% from the next academic. We were quite surprised at the amount. Okay. So for you, this might be a correct assumption for the author. There might be another group. These are less in number, but they can assign this tone. A leading school in Mumbai has increased its fees by 150% from the next academic. Top leading school in Mumbai has done it by 150%. Not a big deal. Students are still going to, the school is still going to be very popular. It's a leading school in Mumbai. Okay, for that set, this is going to be correct. But ideally, neither this is correct nor this is correct. Why is that? Because I cannot associate any tone by myself. You have to read it in a neutral tone. In a neutral tone, it is impossible for us to understand what the author is trying to hint at, what the author wants us to derive from this, what the author is thinking while writing this. That's the best way to go. So both of them should be incorrect technically, but I have an option of either or. Now, whenever we have either or in the options, always think if the two of them are incorrect, if taken together, so they will be contradicting each other. If taken together, one of them can be correct. Now, the author can have either of the two opinions. Either when he's writing this, he might feel that this is too high an increment and probably students will go. Or he might feel that no matter how high an increment you do, students are still going to stay. These are the only two contradictions he's going to go through. It is going to be either this or this which is going to be correct, always. So remember, if there are, so both will be individually incorrect, right? But when taken together, one of them can be right. Who is right? I don't know. It can be either one or two. So option 4 is the most appropriate answer here. Okay. Next. What about this one? Mr. X said to Mr. Y. Now, either you can think from the perspective of a third person who has written this statement, or whenever there is something being said, you can think from the perspective of the speaker. Maybe assume yourself to be Mr. X. So Mr. X is saying to Mr. Y, I want to become a doctor because I want to serve humanity. Now, assumption, while writing this, Mr. X is thinking, I am lying to Mr. Y. That's not how it works, right? That's not how it works. This assumption is purely baseless. Mr. Y knows that Mr. X is lying. Again, this becomes very specific. So both are not correct. Option 3 is the right answer. Due to potholes in the city, a large number of people are not able to reach the airport on time. What are the assumptions here? Reaching the airport on time is not necessary. This is a baseless assumption, vague assumption. Vague assumptions will always be instantly rejected. The second one says there may not be any other route to the airport. Now, a lot of people might think that this is specific, but the author is clearly mentioning that due to potholes in the city, large number of people are not able to reach the airport. Now, the city can't be contaminated with potholes in the form that every other road is having potholes, a lot of potholes, so much so that they are being delayed. Most probably, a city has potholes in one region due to which people are not able to reach airport. That means he is probably assuming that there is no other way to reach the airport apart from this one where there are potholes. Hence, 2 becomes a valid assumption here. So, only is Implicit means it is hidden, it is implied. It is never directly mentioned, but it is implied. Next. This is a good one actually. A government employee tells an applicant after sitting idle to come after 2 weeks for approval of a certificate because he is very busy and has a lot of work. Now, I know we are not supposed to associate, a tone, but if you read it carefully, there is something the author wants to hint at. What is that? The author is saying that a government employee tells an applicant, that is fine. After sitting idle, he is trying to hint at something. That despite being idle, what is he saying? He is asking the applicant to come after 2 weeks because he is busy and has a lot of work. Are you getting what the author is trying to hint at? Now, read the assumption. The government employee wants to help the applicant. The author is thinking like this, no, not at all. And the government employee expects something from the applicant. Now, they have not directly written it, but expect something means some sort of a favor is being expected in return of which he is probably going to do the work, because it seems fishy that despite sitting idle, he is just refused. Okay. So, from the author's perspective, this is the correct answer. So, only 2 is okay. For the next 2 sessions also, we will be meeting for critical reasoning, right? Good set of questions which we will be practicing. Sham tells Geeta. Sham tells Geeta the way to reach Shrikant is by air and water routes. Okay. Geeta likes to go to Shrikant. Is the author thinking again tonality? So you'll assume that probably Geeta really wants to, is desperate to go to Shrikant, and that is why Sham is telling her the way. She might be, but there might be other reasons to it. Not because she likes him, because might be coaxed, or there may be some sort of a arrangement or whatever it is. We are not sure what it is. Neither the author is. The author is not hinting towards it. If you think like this becomes a it's not a generic or a very obvious assumption. This becomes a specific assumption. And specific assumptions are never allowed. Sham likes to give advice to people. Do I know that? No. Probably Geeta has asked Sham, so Sham is saying this. So even if you think from Sham's perspective, giving this advice that to reach Shrikant, there are air and water routes available. Maybe I hate giving advice as Sham, but I'm giving it. So I'm not sure what the author is assuming here, and it can surely not be the either of them. So the answer is option 2. Y advised X that if he or she wants to study management, he or she should join IIM. So somebody is advising, probably you are Y. Okay. You are advising that if you want to study management, you should join IIM. So you are assuming that IIM provides good management education. Now do you understand what is assumption? It's a very basic thing, no? If I'm advising to join IIM, probably I am assuming that IIM is a good institute, right? This is what basic assumptions, what obvious assumptions. Okay. Second one says X listens to the advice given by Y. Now this is the problematic sentence. Why? Because a lot of people are like, okay, I'm not sure whether X is going to listen to the advice or not. Probably he's not going to listen. Just going to like, yeah, okay, and then he's going to ignore it. How can we be sure that he's going to listen to the advice? The idea is not that whether is he going to listen in reality or not. The idea is you are Y. You are assuming yourself to be Y. From his perspective, if he's giving advice to somebody, he's definitely not thinking, what's the point? He's not going to listen. No. When he's giving an advice to somebody, he is assuming that that advice will be paid heed to by the other person. So this is correct. So both 1 and 2 here are correct here. Option 4 is a. After eating food at a wedding reception, many people fell ill and were taken to nearby government and private hospitals. The author has clearly mentioned both government and private hospitals. What are the assumptions here? Relatives of the affected people may refuse to take them to government hospitals? No, they are not sure. The author has just said they will be taken to both government and private hospitals, so this becomes contradictory now. Second one says nearby hospitals may be able to attend to all the affected people. Yeah, of course. That is why they are being taken to the nearby hospitals. So only 2 is implicit. Option 2 is the correct answer. Some questions will seem very direct, very easy to attempt, solve. Case of assumptions, conclusions, anything. Okay. But sometimes you might struggle. Don't expect the questions to be of very extremely high level. That is what is I am not expecting right now. Because critical reasoning as it is, even if they ask you some basic questions, they might trap you easily in that. So they are not going to raise the bar too much. Okay. I am also planning to bring one or probably one passage based question for you. I am planning to do that because there have been exams where passage based questions have suddenly been introduced in terms of critical reasoning. So what if they throw a small passage in front of you, they ask you about strengthen and weaken. So I will just give you, let's say, one passage where we'll solve 4 or 5 questions in the last session of critical reasoning, maybe the third session. Okay, just for the sake of exposure. This is the last question of statement assumption. After this, we'll shift to statement course of action. So you are appointed as a professor with a probation period of 1 year and your work will be reviewed at the end of the period for confirmation. A line is written in the appointment letter. So you are the person who has written this line. From that perspective, think. While appointing, the quality of a person's work is not known. Of course, that is why you are giving them a probation period. Because they may have their history presented in front of you in terms of their curriculum vitae, but that might still not be sufficient for you to understand the quality of work they can deliver. Alright, hence the probation period is required. Number 2, normally a person tries to prove his competence during the probation period. Of course, that is why you are going to review them at the end of the period, because you know that if a person is really looking for a job and if you are giving him a probation, he's going to be at his best. He's going to prove his mettle in this probation period. So both 1 and 2 are here. Option 4 is the. Okay. Let's switch to statement course of actions. So whenever we are looking at statement course of actions, what needs to be done here is, firstly, you will assume yourself to be the highest authority pertaining to the problem. Problem is talking about water, you will be the highest authority, probably the chief director of the water works department. Okay, something of that sort. a government post where you will be at the highest authority pertaining to that problem, so that you will take your steps accordingly. There is no restriction, okay, that you need clearance from the seniors or something like that. Number two, sometimes there will be a mention of formation of a committee or an advisory group to proceed with the problem, okay, to proceed with for a solution. A lot of times people reject it, saying that this is not providing a solution. This is just maybe increasing the. This is just trying to derail it, taking some more time, buying some more time. But that is not how it works. You are at a top government position, and right now you need advice from people. If you are suffering from a problem, you can't instantly solve it. So to get to a credible solution, you need input from various people, right? And that is why forming advisory committees are actually very helpful steps. So if at all you come across such a step, you will assume that you will give them to be a correct answer. Okay. Also, courses of action basically will provide you with solutions to the problem sets which are given in statements. Those solutions will almost be immediate solutions. Immediate need not be that it will be solved by night today. Immediate means it will be solved in due course of time, but it's not going to take ages to solve, right? And when you are applying a solution, it is going to either reduce your problem significantly or maybe probably eradicate it completely. And it is not going to lead to a new problem. That means there is no considerable side effect. Maybe some side effects of the solution, but not so much so that a new problem is occurring. Got it? Keeping that in mind, you need to solve the questions. The first question in front of you, I believe by now almost everybody has solved. So serious and significant errors were found in the financial accounts of a private limited company. So now you are the top boss, top brass of this company. You're the CEO. Okay. Now a team of experts should be appointed to find the root cause of errors in accounts and suggest remedial actions. You'll see that what is this team going to do? The problem has already been, the damage has already been done. I need to punish those. Basically, this advisory committee or team is going to help you to understand the root cause and to also prevent it in future. It's a valid course of action. Okay. It's like a bridge. Second one says all employees involved should be thoroughly investigated. Of course, they should be. It's a big problem. No, they have said it is a serious and significant problem, right? So they need to be investigated thoroughly. They might have some motive. So both 1 and 2 follow here. Option D is the correct answer. Remember, we utilize the word implicit for assumptions. Implicit means hidden. It is implied. It is never directly mentioned in the statement. Whereas follows or explicit can be used for conclusion, inference, course of action, anything which can be directly understood from the statement. Need not think about it being hidden or implied. But conclusions and inferences can be implied or hidden as well, right? So they are majorly explicit, but sometimes they can be implicit also. Assumptions are always only implicit. They are never explicit. Next. If no employee submits their work by tomorrow, the monthly project will be. Actions are the date for submitting the work report should be extended. Now, if the employee will not submit their work tomorrow, then only the project will be in crisis. So I can't extend the date further, no? Okay, of submission of report of not the monthly project. This is talking about submission of report. It's incorrect. Some employees should work fast and submit their report by tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's a valid thing. Reasons for delay should be identified and appropriate preventive measures should be taken. It's also right. So only 2 and 3. Option A is the correct. Because you need to identify what is incorrect here and what can be corrected for the future course of action. Right? Easy one. Okay, the Weather Bureau has forecast heavy snowfall throughout the next week in Kashmir. That is the uh, so this is a statement. This can be a problem statement or it can be a fact-based statement. We're looking at the actions now. The Bureau should disseminate this information across Kashmir through various media, of course. Municipal bodies should arrange for snow clearance from the roads. Yes, because if a heavy snowfall is predicted, probably we'll require that machinery in future. So we need to be ready already. This news should be prevented to be spreading outside the state. Now, this only 1 and 2. Option A is the right answer. Easy question. Tonight, if I need dough with yeast and sugar for my donuts, I'll be able to bake them tomorrow evening. So fresh. Now, this is a probable problem statement. What is he trying to say? That he's trying to avoid or prevent an issue. He's saying that if I need the dough with yeast and sugar tonight only, then I'll be probably able to bake them fresh to serve them to my guests. Now, what are the actions here? So, what should be ensured that the problem does not occur? I should ensure the dough doesn't spoil to enable good baking. Of course, if I make the dough today with yeast and sugar, what if it spoils tomorrow? I'll be gone. So, of course, and I must cancel tomorrow's guest program. No, of course not. Why should that be done? And the third one is I should follow my donut recipe and bake at the correct temperature. Yeah, of course. I think this is a very vague question. I feel it's a very vague question. But still, it has come up in the past, so we solve it. Not in the SSC exams, of course, but this has been asked in some other exam. This is a pretty easy one again. People rehabilitated due to construction of government aluminium mines are protesting poor living conditions at the new site. So the problem is that they are protesting, okay, due to the poor living conditions. Now, what are the probable actions? We need to send a team to inquire about their grievances. Of course, yes, we should do that. And conduct an audit to ensure healthy and safe living conditions at the new site. I think this is pretty easy. Both of them will follow. So option A is the correct answer. Okay, next. Now this is where you will have to understand that critical reasoning is not limited to knowledge of logical or analytical reasoning. See, if I'm learning blood relations, I know I only have to think about blood relations. If I'm learning about syllogism, I only need to know about syllogism. But when I'm learning about critical reasoning is just a tool. The contents are usually taken from GK, from GS, from various aspects of economics, science, etc. Right? So you need to be thoroughly aware about what exactly is how is it being processed. even if it is a statement based question. So even here, see, one liner statement is given. Not much is being divulged about the import concept, but you need to know the basics to be able to understand the question. Yes, good. So the question is saying country XYZ's imports are much higher than its exports. That means there's a balance of payment issue. Agreed? Now, what are the probable courses of action? How do we improve the situation where the imports are greater than the exports? So the spending is greater than the earning. In short, in easy terms. So explore national resources and leverage them for exports. Many of you don't know this, but this is a classic theory where what happens is, if a country is unable to produce goods which are worthy of exportation, maybe due to lack of raw materials or anything, okay, lack of funds or right. So what the country can do is the country can start exploring its natural resources which may be in abundance, which are absent in other countries. So other countries may require these natural resources for as raw material for their production. Okay. So they will also import this. So if the country is failing to manufacture products to export, it can start leveraging its natural resources to be exported to fill in this gap of BOP, okay, to achieve this BOP. So this is a probable solution. This is a good solution which can actually help. The other one says we need to start schemes and actions to produce imported goods domestically to reduce imports. This is also technically not incorrect. If I'm importing, my import depends heavily on one object. Let's say I'm importing a lot of a particular type of good in my country. So rather than that, I should encourage, I should subsidize people who are working in my country to manufacture this. So there will be an encouragement which will eventually lead to lesser imports from that. Overall balance will be maintained again. A lot of people might argue here that in the first place, if we are importing it, that means we don't have resources to manufacture it domestically. Maybe, but maybe also the industry is not very organized, or the industry is not very encouraged to do this. If you provide incentives, if you provide subsidies, probably it might start at up to some extent, and gradually we might reach there. So one of the moves which we have done in terms of semiconductor chip industry. Okay, something of that sort. So again, both A and B will follow. Option D is the correct answer. Understood? Next. Only 2 days are left for Rahul's project deadline and he hasn't started yet. So what can he do? To avoid such issues in future, he should read a time management book immediately. No, that is further waste of time at this stage. He should manage time efficiently and start the project without delay. Yes. And he should make a layout first and then follow it. Yeah, I think that also works. So both 2 and 3 is here actually on the next. if either the sociology or social work faculty sends students to the inter-school debate, the school will surely win a prize. Try to understand the question, okay? Now, this is not a current problem. This is a fact which they are mentioning. The fact can lead to a problem. So what are they trying to say? They are saying that either the sociology or social work faculty, if either of these, they send students for the inter-school debate, then the school will surely win a prize. That is what the statement is saying. Now, how can you address this? Management should ensure one of the two faculties sends participants. At least one of them should send the participants, and allow only these two faculties to participate. Participants from these faculties should be encouraged to do other debates too. I think this is not going to help. Technically, it sounds very awkward, but what is the best course of action? It is two only. Okay, that we need to allow only these two faculties to participate, because if we know that they are surely going to win a prize, then we should allow only them to participate. But ideally, this is not how it should work. Technically, only one should be my correct answer, that at least one of the two should be a part of it. Okay, so this seems to be a slightly dicey actually. You can either choose one or two here. But I feel technically extreme courses of actions are also mostly rejected. How can this be an extreme course of action? Because of the word only here. Why? Because I cannot restrict participation for the others. See, I know that my school is going to win an award if I let so and so teachers participate. That does not imply that I need to restrict others. No, you will not participate. You're not good enough. That's not how it works. No, because a guarantee in prize is for these two subjects, but not about the others. I don't know. Maybe we perform equally well. Hence, this seems to be correct, but this is not correct. This is vague. Even if you allow them to participate in other debates, that might not help. I mean, we are only talking about this. So if at all you want to give the answer, one is the only correct answer. Why? Because we are trying to say that if we know that sociology or social work faculty are going to win prizes, at least one of them should make it to the team. Okay. So that is the most balanced approach, and hence option D will be correct, where there is a misprint here. So I will say only one follows. You understand? Always remember, extreme courses of actions are always rejected. Extreme courses of actions are always rejected. Otherwise, there cannot be a pair of courses of actions which can be right here. Next. Okay. During summer, Delhi faces water shortage. I think this is so. More water conservation projects should be launched. Yeah, of course. And rainwater harvesting should be encouraged in all residential complexes. Okay. Both 1 and 2 are appropriate. Option C. And the last question for course of action is this. Then we will shift to some questions of conclusions. Statement conclusion. Okay. Last question for course of actions. It's actually a good one. And a lot of times you will draw parallels to what is really being done. Okay. What is actually being taken as a course of action in real life may or may not fit the bill of the definition. So don't just blindly pick up something because that is happening in real life. Okay. So a recent survey revealed that air pollution in the city has increased by 30% in a short period due to metro construction. Now, if you are a resident of Delhi, NCR or somewhere in the north, if you are a resident of Mumbai or any other city there, so recently a lot of our cities, in fact somewhere in Odisha also I believe, recently, now I think things have gone better there. These cities are undergoing, so they are going stages of GRAP 4 right now. There are restrictions of GRAP 4 currently, wherein construction is banned, the plying of old diesel and petrol vehicles is banned, a lot of other things are banned, open fires are banned. Why so? Because the pollution has alarmingly increased. Now, comparing to that, everything has been banned here, right? So what do students assume here is that since air pollution has increased by 30% due to metro construction should be stopped. Now you tell me, metro construction is stopped. So how will the metro be coming into? That's not a credible solution, right? So read the others. The government should investigate the entire construction site to study the impact of air pollution caused by metro construction, of course, so that you can take steps accordingly. And the third one says, dust from construction site should be controlled by regularly sprinkling water to keep the site moist. So only 2 and 3 options, the appropriate answer here, is going to ensure that somehow the pollution can be brought down and the metro construction should not be up. Until and unless it reaches an alarming stage where nothing else can be done, then at that moment you will have to stop the construction. Otherwise, so don't draw a parallel to real life. Even in real life, if you're not aware of, even under the GRAP 4 curbs, a lot of government-based construction is still allowed. Okay, so metros, projects, emergency services, hospitals, anything of that sort is being constructed that is still allowed. Understood? Next question of conclusion. For conclusions, what is going to happen is, for conclusions, whenever you're going to come across this word, please remember, conclusions implies the final purpose, the final message the author needs you to be going to, right? The author wants to drive you to a particular final message. That is why he has written the statement in the first place. Okay, so the statement is an argument. It is like an opinion which consists of premises, that is supporting statements, facts, figures. Sometimes there are some hidden premises. Hidden means some premises means some supporting statements which is assumed, but they are so simple that he need not write. Those are assumptions, and all these things he has done so that he can take you to a final conclusion. That why am I saying all this to you? Because I want you to go at this particular point. Okay, that is how you identify conclusion. Conclusions in sentences, paragraphs, passages are usually mentioned towards the end, but usually, not always. Okay, and usually a single sentence or a paragraph or a passage will have one, at most two conclusions. Right? What about inferences? So whenever I talk of inferences, after I read a single line, I can draw 10 different meanings from it. For the next line, I can draw another set of meanings. Inferences are meanings which I am, various multiple meanings which I am drawing from short parts of the sentence or the passage, whereas conclusion is the final message which I am deriving after reading the whole thing. Okay, so there is a difference between the two. Remember, all conclusions were once an inference, but all inference can never become conclusion. You understand the difference, right? So for conclusions, I need to go through the whole thing and then I will arrive at the conclusion. For inferences, I can partly pick up options and sentences, then get to understand what does it mean. Cool. So that is how you work with conclusion or inference. But remember, conclusions can be a restatement. That is, even if it is a summary of your statement, that's a valid conclusion or an inference also. Agreed? So they can be as it is mentioned in your statement. They can be picked up from your statement. They are also known as explicit conclusions. If at all that happens, then also it is valid. It is not an issue, right? Keeping that in mind, read this question from the point of view of a definite conclusion. What is the author definitely trying to tell you? So here, some people believe that God is in the temple. The author is saying this to you. Please dissociate from the process of finding assumptions now. We are not thinking about what the author might have obviously thought while writing this. No. We are thinking what the author is trying to tell you finally. Some people believe that God is in the temple. Is he trying to tell you that God can be found only in the temple? No, this is too specific for a conclusion. And God is everywhere. A lot of people feel that this is universal truth. But unfortunately, it is not. It is not put under the category. Even if you feel it is true, even if I feel it is true, it is not put under the category of universal truth. Universal truth is something like sun rises in the east. It is visible, it is documented, it is proven. This is based on mythology. Okay, hence we call it a myth. So myth is not a negative word. Myth means it is a belief. Nobody knows or can prove it. Hence, the author is probably not trying to take me to either of these conclusions. Okay. The final conclusion is not that people believe that God is in the temple. Maybe this is just an information the author is trying to give. Okay. So I can't take it to an extreme conclusion. Hence, none follow here. Option D is the right answer. There are common traps which are laid down for you. Why is this a trap? This is a trap because you are emotionally connected to this question. A lot of people may believe this and their belief system might be questioned by the statement. The problem is a lot of people will feel like, no, God is everywhere. This is right. This is universal truth. So option 2 is correct. Option 1 they will reject. Everybody will say it is incorrect. But option 2 they will say it is right. So a lot of people end up marking option C as the correct answer here. That is how they lay a trap. For them, you need to dissociate from everything. And you need to never associate emotionally or attach emotionally to a question. That is the worst mistake you can commit. So your opinion, your thought process, your morality, your ethics do not matter when you're solving critical reasoning based. Okay. But they will matter when you're solving social intelligence and emotional intelligence or ethical dilemma based questions. So that is a different zone altogether. Okay. Next. Slight change here. So this is not high BP basically. High pressure. Wasn't high blood pressure, it is high pressure. Now read. In the last 10 years, chapters have been reduced to lessen pressure on the students. So one way to reduce despair or depression is to reduce the syllabus. Conclusion. Nowadays, students are happy and not serious about studies. Nowhere. The author is not trying to take you here at all. The author is rather trying to make you empathetic about the students' condition. Okay. A vast syllabus burden is a main cause of high pressure among school students. Hence, they are reducing the syllabus to reduce despair and depression. Lessen the. So option 2 is the correct answer. Option B is the understood. Easy. Okay, very good. Last year, India had 4,84,874 total accidents with 1,48,707 traffic related deaths. Okay, what are the conclusions? What can you draw from this? Some traffic accidents were fatal, of course. Okay, and poor road conditions were also responsible for such high numbers. No. Poor road conditions may have been responsible. Correct conclusion. Could have said that this is right. But they were also responsible. I don't know. He is not mentioning anything about poor road conditions. Okay. So only conclusion 1 follows, option A. So actually statement conclusion and statement inferences are the points, the zones, the type of questions where you use your general mindset. General mindset means If it is related to your statement, if it is mentioned in a statement, it's correct. If it is totally not related to a statement, they have not mentioned anything about conditions of the roads here, then you will never follow it as a conclusion. You understand? But a lot of us use this same logic almost everywhere in critical reasoning. That is where we fail. So only applicable in conclusions and inferences. So this is the last question for us today. Then I will provide you a bonus question and we'll pick up from where we are leaving today in the next session. Right? Only science students are permitted to attend the conference. Right? Conclusions, all students present are science students. Of course. Now some of you will say, what if some geography students came by mistake? The statement. Stick to the statement. Do not think about possibilities here. Stick to what the statement is saying. Statement is clearly saying only science students are permitted. That means nobody else is permitted. That means all students who are present there are only science students. And students without science as a subject are not permitted. This is actually a restatement. Whatever is written here, they are just producing it, reproducing it in front of you, representing it in front of you in a different language. It's also correct. Both are following. Option D is the. Alright, on that note, we'll end the session here. So much for watching it till here. And this is the last question for you. This is a bonus question or a homework question you can ask. So if you're watching it on YouTube, I would request you please take a screenshot and put the correct answer in the chat box after the session is over. If you're watching it on the application, I would request you, I'll share this PDF with you. I'll share it on the YouTube platform as well. Go through this question, try to attempt it. We will start discussing from this point in our next session of critical reasoning. Thank you so much for joining live and watching this till here. I'll see you around in the next session. Then you guys take care. Bye-bye. Namaskar.